Okay, I hope I'm audible to all students who are attending this lecture of Introductory Macroeconomics. We intend to start with a new topic within the Introductory Macroeconomics course. This is money. Okay, so basically this is the broad topic for our lectures, and within our lectures on money, what we intend to look at in this particular lecture note is the concept of quantity theory of money. This shall be the main topic which will be covered in this lecture. Okay, and the book I prefer to follow for my lectures on money, this is Gregory Mankiw, the 4th edition. Okay, so first of all, let's quickly start by just recalling the definition of money which we have done in high school economics. So when we talk about money, money not only includes the cash we hold. Okay, so any stock of assets which can be used to make transactions. Now, when I talk about making transactions, it simply means buying goods and services. So any particular form in which can be used to make transactions. Now, if you look at the forms of money today, although you have coins and paper notes, you also have checks, you also have NEFT, RTGS bank transfers, you also have Paytm, Google Pay, okay, and now more methods are coming to make payments. There are more apps which are coming to make virtual payments. Okay, so now you can see any form in which you can make money. We have debit cards, we have credit cards. Okay, so if you look at the definition of money, it is the stock of all assets that can be readily used to make transactions. And when I talk about transactions, it simply means buying goods and services. Okay, so we assume that the US is the domestic economy right now. In my lectures, I take US as the domestic economy, and all of us know that the currency of US are the dollar bills. So the dollars in the hands of the public make up the nation's stock of money. Okay, so this was the basic definition of money. Although you will see that in the coming lectures, the definitions become more broad. Okay, let's quickly look at the functions of money. Now, again, students attending this lecture are familiar with these functions from high school economics. So, broadly speaking, money has three purposes. Money can be used to store value. Okay, all of us recall that before we actually started having coins and paper notes, we used to have the barter system. Now, what was barter system? Barter system was the commodity for commodity exchange system. If I come to the whiteboard and give all students a brief about the barter system, which existed before coins and paper notes. So barter system was a commodity for commodity exchange. Okay, barter system was a commodity for commodity exchange, which we also call as the CC economy, commodity for commodity economy. And this system used to exist before coming of coins and paper notes. Now, all of us are also familiar with the problems of barter system. Okay, what were the major problems with the barter system? All of us know, very famously called as double coincidence of wants. These were the limitations of the barter system. Double coincidence of wants simply means that if I take a very simple example, which most of the books take, talking about wheat and shoes. If there are two commodities, wheat and shoes, suppose I am the farmer who has produced wheat and I need to buy shoes. Then if the economy is the barter economy, then I will have to actually search for someone who is willing to buy wheat from me and is willing to sell shoes. Now, this is going to involve a lot of time. Searching for that person who is willing to buy your commodity in exchange for his or her commodity involves a lot of time. Okay, so this was one problem, and another problem was store of value. Now, if you talk about goods, certain goods are not easy to store. Suppose I am a milkman, or if I am a vegetable vendor, and suppose I want to buy shoes. Now I can't keep storing milk for a long time to find the shop, to find the person who is willing to sell shoes to me in exchange for milk. So that means in barter system there are some commodities which you cannot store, because certain commodities are perishable and they deteriorate very easily over time, like milk, fruits, vegetables. On the other hand, the good thing with money is that you can store money, but let me explain this to all students. Even though I can store money, over time its nominal value will remain the same, but its real value can deteriorate because of inflation. If I keep $100 in the vault today, then after 10 years the nominal value of that will still be $100. But if the economy has experienced inflation over these 10 years, the real purchasing power of money might fall. Those $100 may not be able to buy me the same goods and services as today after 10 years. So money can be used to store the nominal value, but you cannot store the real value of money, because the real purchasing power of money may go up or down depending upon fluctuations in prices. Okay, so if I come back to the lecture note, so if we quickly go through the store of value function, money is a way of transferring purchasing power from the present to the future. But we need to understand that money is an imperfect store of value. Why? Because if prices rise in the future, that means if the economy experiences inflation, the amount one can buy with any given quantity of money is falling. Okay, so I hope the first point is clear. Let's look at the second particular function of money. Money can be used as a unit of account. Now, what does that mean? Now, that simply means just as you measure height in centimeters, meters, you measure distance in kilometers, meters, okay? You measure liquids in terms of liters. Similarly, you can measure money in terms of prices. So money provides the terms in which prices are quoted and debts are recorded. It is the yardstick with which we measure economic transactions. That means every commodity can be measured in terms of money by allotting a price to it. Remember, this was not the case in case of barter system. Because when I talk about wheat, wheat is measured in quintals. And when I talk about shoes, shoes are in pairs always. You always buy shoes in pairs. So in case of barter system, we don't know what is going to be the exchange rate between wheat and shoes. How much wheat should I sell to buy a pair of shoes? We don't know that, because there is no yardstick or there is no common grounds to which we can measure their value. But thankfully, when we have every commodity quoted in terms of a certain price, that makes transactions a whole lot easier. Okay, and the third broad function of money is medium of exchange. Now this is a self-explanatory point, and in this point I've also added a barter system. So money can be used to buy goods and services and is readily accepted as a medium of exchange. Okay, now all of you should also be familiar with the concept of liquidity, especially students who have had studied accountancy in high school. All of us know when is an asset said to be liquid? If it can be easily converted into cash. The ease with which any asset can be converted into cash captures the liquidity of that asset. So all of us know that money is the most liquid asset. You can easily convert money into goods and services. You have money today, you can go to the market, pay money and buy goods and services. So money can be converted into other things very easily. So the ease with which money is converted into other things, that is goods and services, is called the liquidity of money. But on the other hand, when we talk about the barter system does not have liquidity, because I don't know as a farmer when will I be able to convert my wheat into shoes. So barter system requires double coincidence of wants, which is an unlikely situation of two people each having a good that the other wants at the right time and the place to make an exchange. So barter economy only permits simple transactions. Okay, so just as an interesting fact, if I come to the whiteboard, let me also give you some history of money. You should know, if we talk about the history of money, or I can say the evolution of money. So first of all, if all of you can recall, we had animal pelts. Animal pelts or animal skin was used to make transactions. This was way back. Okay, and the animal skins were used to make transactions of buying goods and services. Then came the barter system. The barter system was commodity for commodity exchange. Okay, and after the barter system, around that time, we also had the feudal system. Feudal system was also like the barter system, in which case we had the landlords and the peasants. Okay, so in the feudal system, we had peasants who used to produce agricultural output for the landlords and the landlords used to pay them in terms of food grains. So again, there was no money till this time. The peasants used to produce agricultural output for the landlords, and the landlords simply used to pay them in terms of food grains. That means a certain fraction of the output produced was given back to the peasants for their livelihood. I'm sure students attending this lecture have done the feudal system in history also. When you had your schooling, you must have done this in your history course as well. Now, after the feudal system, in most parts of the world, we had gold. We had gold coins as the medium of exchange. Now, what was the problem with gold? The problem with gold was that it was heavy to carry. If you want to make a transaction of a high value, you need to calculate humongous amount of gold. Now, gold is heavy to carry. It's not portable. Second thing is, it is prone to theft. If someone steals your gold, you are gone. You'll not be able to make your transactions. So it was prone to theft. Second thing was that it was difficult to carry. So then we had something called gold certificates. Now, gold certificates were pieces of paper redeemable for gold. I don't know, my spelling of redeemable might be wrong, but you understand this, pieces of paper redeemable for gold. That means gold certificates were pieces of paper which were issued by the goldsmiths. These were issued by the goldsmiths. You used to keep your gold with the goldsmith just as you keep your money with the banks today. In that particular time, you used to keep a certain amount of gold with the goldsmith. The goldsmith used to issue you gold certificates, and using these gold certificates, you can buy goods and services. Very simple. Whosoever had the possession of gold certificate could go to the goldsmith and redeem that much amount of gold. Now, the improvement of gold certificates over gold coins was that gold certificates are portable. They are easy to carry. But again, gold certificates were also prone to theft, because if someone steals your gold certificate, that person or entity is redeemable to that much amount of gold. Okay, so after gold certificates, we started having something called as fiat currency. Now, fiat currency includes all your coins. Okay, if I talk about the US economy, the US economy has nickel and dime. Okay, so we had coins, we had paper currency. Now, fiat currency is currency by law. Okay, fiat currency is the currency which is defined by law. Now, if you look at the actual value, if you look at a dollar bill, if you ever got a chance to hold a dollar bill, or for example, a rupee note, the actual value of that note is nothing. But the amount of goods and services it can buy with that is much more. Now, that currency, that rupee note or that dollar bill has value because it is defined by the law. If I talk about gold, gold had value both as a commodity and money. So gold had value both as commodity. It can be used to make jewelry as well as money. However, when I talk about fiat currency in itself is just nothing but a piece of paper. It has no value, but it can be used to buy goods and services of a certain high value. Okay, so after gold certificates, we started having banks coming up. We had fiat currency. First of all, we used to have post offices. Now, post offices used to issue postage stamps. Okay, then we started having coins which were issued by the government, and paper currency. Then after that, if I move forward, then we started having modern day checks. After having coins and paper notes, we started having modern day checks. Now, checks are similar to gold certificates. In gold certificates, you deposit gold with the bank, and the bank gives you a gold certificate which is redeemable for that much amount of gold. Checks also work in a similar way. But what is different is check is addressed in name of a certain person or entity. So if someone steals your check, that person is not entitled to that much amount of money. So the possibility of theft in the case of gold certificates was removed by the modern day checks, because check only issued in the name of a certain individual or firm, only that particular individual or firm has the right to that much amount of money. Okay, Now, after the modern day checks, what did we have? Plastic money. It consists of debit cards, credit cards. Students should be knowing the difference between debit and credit cards. Obviously, debit cards are used to make the payment instantaneously. When you're using a debit card to make a transaction, the amount of money is instantaneously deducted from your savings or current account. Okay, current account is maintained usually by businesses where the overdraft limit is also a possibility. On the other hand, savings account is usually maintained by professionals, job professionals. Okay, and if I talk about credit cards, then if you're using credit card in a transaction, then the money is paid by the credit card company immediately, and you become liable to pay the credit card company. There's a billing cycle every month, and you are required to pay the credit card company a certain amount of money which was paid by the company during the transaction. So credit cards allow you to make transactions of buying goods and services even if you don't have money right now. On your behalf, the credit card company is going to make the payment, and then you are going to pay the credit card company in the defined billing cycle. Okay, now after plastic money, we started having bank transfers, online bank transfers. Okay, after plastic money, we started having online bank transfers, also called as online banking. Now, most of the transactions in the world are dominated by online banking. National Electronic Fund Transfer, NEFT, Real Time Gross Settlement, RTGS. Okay, inquisitive students can go into the depth. What are the features of National Electronic Fund Transfer, Real Time Gross Settlement? You can search it up on Google. Okay, because of lack of time, obviously I will be discussing certain concepts from above, but if you are inquisitive, you should know what are the features of having a NEFT transfer or RTGS transfer. These are account to account direct transfers which are made. There is a certain cap for NEFT and there is a certain cap for RTGS. There is no particular amount. You can make an RTGS even of ₹1 or $1, but for NEFT, obviously there are regulations, and different economies have different regulations. Okay, now after online bank transfer, we now have app money which has emerged. Example, we have Paytm, we have GPay, we have Phone Pay. Okay, I think this is how they write it. I don't know, maybe this is how they write it. So many apps we have. I think we have even more apps coming up now. We now even have the Paytm virtual bank. And now if you can imagine, all of you must be hearing this term these days called Bitcoins. Now, even though Bitcoins are not legal, in most of the economies, they are not legal. Bitcoins are completely virtual currency. Okay, but they are not legal as of now. Okay, so you can see starting from animal pelts, you can see the process or the journey through which money has evolved. Okay, so if I quickly come back to the lecture note, now quickly discussing with all students types of money. So fiat money, money that has no intrinsic value, is called fiat money because it is established as money by the government decree or fiat or law. No intrinsic value simply means that this money has no value in itself as a commodity. It only has value as money because of the order of the government. Okay, then we have commodity money. Commodity money refers to the money as a commodity with some intrinsic value. Best example, gold. When gold is used as money, the economy is said to be on a gold standard. And gold is also a form of commodity because you very well know that the yellow metal is used for jewelry purposes as well. Okay, so this was commodity money. Now comes the next thing. How do central banks control the quantity of money? We know that every economy has a central bank. Okay, and the central bank is responsible for regulating the money supply in the economy. So let's understand what is meant by money supply. So the quantity of money which is available in the economy is called the money supply. Or we can say the quantity of money in the hands of the public is a part of the money supply. Whatever money is kept in the vault of the central bank is not in circulation and is not a part of the money supply. Always remember that money which is in circulation in the economy is a part of money supply. That money which is not in circulation in the economy is not a part of money supply. When I talk about circulation of money, it simply means that that particular money is exchanging hands with the public or with the commercial banks. But if that money goes into the vault of the central bank, it is no longer in circulation and not a part of money supply. So the control over money supply is called as the monetary policy. So monetary policy is completely to do with regulating the money supply in the economy. And the primary way in which the central banks control the money supply is by using open market operations. Obviously, there are more means through which the central bank controls the supply of money, but majorly the tool which is used by the central bank to control money supply is open market operations. Now, open market operations are something which students have even done in high school macroeconomics. It simply refers to purchase and sale of government bonds. So let's look at open market purchase. So when central bank wants to increase the money supply, it uses some of its currency it has to buy government bonds from the public. Now, when the central bank buys government bonds, it prints equivalent amount of money and gives it to the public via the commercial banks. So central banks are going to buy these government bonds from the commercial bank. Remember, central bank does not deal directly with the public. Commercial banks deal directly with the public, and central banks deal with the commercial banks. So when central banks buy government bonds from commercial banks and print equivalent amount of money and give it to the commercial banks, which further goes in circulation among the public, such a policy is called open market purchase. Such a policy is called open market purchase. And this causes an increase in money supply. Because when the central bank is buying government bonds, it is printing equivalent amount of money and giving it to the commercial banks, which further goes in circulation among the public, causing the money supply to rise. Exactly the opposite is called open market sales. In open market sales, when the central bank wants to decrease money supply, it sells government bonds from its own portfolio. When the central bank is selling government bonds, it is being paid equivalent amount of money by the commercial banks. Now, when commercial banks are paying for government bonds to central bank, that money is going into the vault of the central bank. That means this much amount of money is going out of circulation, which causes the money supply to fall. This policy is called open market sales. So open market sales causes a fall in the money supply. Okay, so this is where I intend to stop in this particular lecture. The objective of this lecture was to introduce to all students the basic concept of money, functions of money, types of money, and the tool used by the central bank to regulate money supply in the economy. In the next lecture, we shall be talking about the forms of money stock, especially in a country like US. So I stop here. I hope all students have enjoyed this lecture. Any doubt? You can unmute your mic and ask, or call up or mail me your doubts at divineschoolofeconomics@gmail.com. So this is where I stop.